Hi, friends, it's Miss Catherine. And do you know what time it is? Story time! And I have some fun books to share with you. The New Librarian. Watch out for bears. The New Librarian. It was story time. The children were ready, and Dee couldn't wait. Isn't it time? She asked. No one answered. Jack looked around. Our librarian isn't here. Maybe she's just late. Miss Merriweather's never late. Then she's missing. Let's go find her. Look, a clue. Footprints. They aren't grown up footprints. They aren't kid footprints. They're paw prints. They followed the paw prints amongst the bookshelves, through a galaxy, into an ocean, and down a runway, and spotted more clues. The librarian's desk feels sticky. These books are shredded and torn. And then they looked up and saw a new librarian. You're not our librarian. Where's Mrs. Merriweather? The new librarian shrugged. Will you read us a story? Dee asked. The new librarian nodded. Hooray! A princess story? A pirate story? A book about dragons? Hmm. The new librarian looked bored. How about something different? Something exciting? Something we aren't allowed to read. Could you read us a scary story? The new librarian's ears perked up. He grabbed a book. About bears? He opened the book and roared. Eee! The children screamed. He growled and stomped and roared some more. The children loved it. Read it again. Someone's coming. It was the missing Mrs. Merriweather. Sorry I'm late. A volcano erupted in the ancient history section and there was not hot lava everywhere. But it's all cleared up now. Miss Merriweather opened her book. Today's story is Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Oh, we love bear stories. Once upon a time, there were three bears, Papa Bear, Mama Bear, and Baby. Oh, where's Baby Bear? I know you're hiding, Baby Bear. It's time to come out now. The new librarian shuffled over sheepishly. Baby Bear, my dear, you're late for story time too, said Miss Merriweather. The children waved goodbye as Baby Bear stepped back into his story. Now let's start again, said Miss Merriweather. And Baby Bear, a little girl came to their house. Oh, wait, where's Goldilocks? Where's Goldilocks? Do you know? The end. You found Goldilocks. She was one of the kids at story time. So, the library book for bears. So, let's do this one. A library book for bear. One morning, Bear heard a tap, tap, tapping on his door. When he opened the door, there was Mouse, small and gray and bright-eyed. We are off, exclaimed Mouse with a happy wag of his whiskers. Bear frowned. He had agreed to go with Mouse to the library, but now he was quite sure it was a dreadful mistake. Completely unnecessary, Bear announced. I have all the books I need right here. Oh, there are many delightful books in the library, Mouse assured him. Bear grumbled, but he had promised. So he buckled up his red roller skates and stepped outside, grabbing a basket for the books. Bear skated and Mouse rode in the basket to the library, the wind rippling nicely through their fur. But when they got to the library, Bear didn't like how big it looked. There are far too many books in there, he protested. Most excessive. Oh no, it's quite exciting, Mouse said, leading Bear through the tall doors. In the library were more books than Bear had ever thought there could be. He quickly found a tucked away corner, but even here there were lots and lots of books. Terribly extravagant. Bear's voice was a little loud. I shall find you the perfect one, Mouse said quietly in his library voice. One about pickles, commanded Bear. After all, he only had one of those. The mouse had whisked away. Mouse came back with a thick green book. Bear opened it. Rocket ships? Ridiculous. Bear's voice was getting louder. A good book about pickles is all I require. Remember, quiet in the library, murmured Mouse as he scurried off. He soon returned with a tall yellow book. I am not interested in wooden canoes. Bear's voice was even louder. Quiet voices in the library, Mouse reminded him. My voice is always quiet, Bear shouted. I will find my own book. I can assure you that pickles are quite interesting. Mouse didn't look so sure, but Bear quickly spotted a blue book with a pickle on the spine, and Mouse sprang up to the shelf to get it for him. Inside were pictures of pickles. The pickles had little fairy wings. They were dancing with petunias. No dancing pickles! Shh, said a voice. Bear picked around a bookshelf. There sat a librarian with a cluster of youngsters gathered around her. The librarian smiled, but a mother squirrel squished an angry finger against her lips, and an old raccoon said sternly, Quiet in the library. Bear turned back with a huffy sniff. I know when I'm not wanted, he told Mouse. I want to go home. Surely at least one book, Mouse began. But Bear cut him off. I have all the books I need. He looked quite certain. Then we are off, said Mouse. But his whiskers didn't wag this time. Mm. Bear stood stock still. He was listening carefully to a voice on the other side of the bookshelf. So the very brave bear began to inch his way toward the treasure chest. The voice was saying. I'm ready, began Mouse. Shh, exclaimed Bear. It's just getting good. But you said quiet voices in the library, Bear bellowed. Okay. This time the librarian got up and looked around the bookshelf at Bear. Bear stood very still and quiet, as if he had been still and quiet all along. Would you like to join Storytime? The librarian asked. Bear glanced at Mouse. We'd love to have you, said the librarian. Bear and Mouse scooted around the shelf and found two empty chairs. The librarian began to read again. Bear lifted the lid to the treasure chest, and inside, the librarian paused. Mouse and Bear strained forward. Okay. Inside, she said, was a mound of pickle slices, and each shining slice was made of diamonds and gold. And everyone shouted, Hooray for the very brave bear! And then she said, The end. The bear stared dreamily into space for a moment. Then he looked over at Mouse and announced, As I said, pickles are most interesting. Indeed, said Mouse. Later, Mouse rode in the basket with 7 new books. There were 2 about wooden canoes, 2 about rocket ships, 2 about teapots, and one called The Very Brave Bear and the Treasure of Pickle Island, which Bear read to Mouse that very same day. The end. So you can get these exciting books at your local library. So this is Miss Catherine signing out. Have a good one. Bye.